So, LJA.
Hi, I'm John Sitton.
Grassroots coach Manisha Taylor.
Hello, I'm Rob Perez.
G-Man.
Sports and Fitness.
Christian Carambeau.
Matt Hodgson, director of the 4-year plan.
We the people, for the people. Jazzy Fizzle.
Your Monday night football fix.
Make a each and every Monday night of your life.
.com/pitch talk. For podcast links and information, check out our official website www.pitch-talk.com.
Hello, I'm Rob Perez.
Grassroots coach Manisha Taylor.
Christian Carambeau.
Director of the 4-year plan.
David Godkin.
I'm Rob Lusher.
Andy Copeland from the Glennet Southern Amateur League.
Philip Wick, I'm CEO of 14.
Former chairman of Ibis FC.
Chairman of Alexandra Park.
You're listening.
And you're listening to Pitch Talk, the only place to get your Monday night footballing fix.
Because the pitch
Pitch is where we sleep.
and the pitch is where we talk. Make sure you join the revolution, the football revolution.
Hi, I'm John Sitton, and I'm here with Gavin, Liam, and Gerald on Pitch Talk.
The football talk show that pulls no punches and holds back nothing on opinions.
Hello, I'm Rob Perez. My name is Christian Carambeau.
I'm grassroots coach Manisha Taylor.
Hi, I'm Matt Hodgson, director of the 4-year plan, and you're listening to Pitch Talk, the only place to get your Monday night footballing fix.
Make sure you join the revolution. The pitch is where we eat,
The pitch is where we sleep.
and the pitch is where we talk.
I'm Andy Copeland from the Glennet Southern Amateur League.
Philip Wick, I'm CEO of 14.
I'm Rob Lusher, former chairman of Ibis FC.
I'm Samir Swanee, co-founder and co-director of Motivate Sports and Fitness.
And you're listening.
And you're listening to Pitch Talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, straight shooting LJ, the G-Man and Jazzy Fizzle proudly bring to you the football talk show that pulls no punches and of course holds back nothing on opinions, because the pitch is where we eat, the pitch is where we sleep, and of course the pitch is where we talk. We are live on YouTube, youtube.com/pitch talk. That's where we're live right now. And also, you know what? You can find all of our live show archives there as well as the Pitch Talk Meets interview series, interviewing people doing good things in the game. Also, Pitch Talk on the Road, our series profiling grassroots projects going on. And we don't mean grassroots projects like the FA means grassroots projects. Why? More on that later. But anyway, it is one of them ones. You can also find our Pitch Talk at the Cup Finals series there as well. But also it is a case of you can also find on youtube.com/pitch talk our Pitch Talk push points and rants of the week, as well as some of the more hotly debated topics from our shows. Also as well, you can also find there, it's one of them ones, Pitch Talk at the Cup Finals series as well, where we meet, well, you, the fans. It is one of them ones. So we've had a lot of fun on Wembley Way there as well. Remember, facebook.com/pitch talk. Become a fan, become a friend, become a member of the group. Join the footballing revolution we are working so hard to create. pitchtalk.blogspot.com or .co.uk will get you to the blogs. Blogs by yours truly, Straight Shooting LJ, the G-Man, Jazzy Fizzle, and many others, including Dave Mear, aka @Mearcy, and his Word of a Ref blog. A couple of high-profile botches this weekend, so well, a lot for Mearcy to sink his teeth into. It is one of them ones. Also, we are
sure
Twitter.
You stumbled all over that.
Yeah, I know, stumbling over scripted ad libs. It's terrible. It's terrible, and I'm not doing the Brian Alvarez rating for that one. But it is one of them ones where also you can get in touch via the mobile.
Do deserve it, though.
during the what? Wait, what? What? It's interrupting the scripted ad libs. But anyway, yeah, you can reach us via the phone 07535 804 466. That's 07535 804 466. That is the mobile number. Call us, text us, let us know your views. Also, twitter.com/pitch talk or at pitch talk on Twitter. Tweet with us, follow us, see what we are up to. We are Pitch Talk 1 on Skype. Add us there, and you can be part of the live Skype call as well. Joining guys like Brad Hicks, Ryan Sonley, Ross Vernon, and Mike Harneman, and also, hopefully later on, Scott Tweed as well. No, it is one of them. Also, we are at Pitch Talk on Instagram as well, and we are Pitch Talk Live on Google Plus too. But you know what? www.pitch-talk.com is the official website. But you know what? You can also join us via podcast as well. iTunes, Mixcloud, Podomatic, Spreaker, and TuneIn Radio. We podcast there. We host our podcast there. So all good. But you know what? I'd like to get a special shout out actually to a little WhatsApp group that us three co-hosts and a couple of others are in as well, called Football Issues and Gossip. Quite an interesting. There's some interesting little debates that happen in there as well. So big shout outs there to JJ Bentley and a few of the other guys in that chat, that little WhatsApp chat as well. You know what? Speaking of shout outs, big shout outs to Girls on the Ball, at Girls on the Ball on Twitter, girlsontheball.com and facebook.com/Girls on the Ball. Yeah, I think I said girlsontheball.com as well. If you want to know anything about women's football, they are the aficionados. FAWSL, WPL, the Lionesses, and just women's football in general. Blogs, photos, match reports. Girlsontheball.com is where you need to go. Big shout outs to Sophie and Rachel. And Pitch Talk's favorite rabbit, that is Scotty the Rabbit. Also, big time shout outs to Thin White Line magazine. Issue 1, issue 2 are available for digital download. And you know what? It is one of them. Was even the tactile release is very, very nice. It is one of them. Was a very, very good publication. Well worth a purchase. They also do have their own podcast on thinwhitelinemagazine.com. But it is one of them ones. If you buy issues 1 and 2, the proceeds are going to a very, very good cause. So well worth buying. And hell, it's one of them ones we feature in issue 1 as well. So even more reason to buy it. But that's thinwhitelinemagazine.com, at tweetwhiteline on Twitter, and also facebook.com/Thin White Line Magazine. Big shout outs to Ian Kerr, the editor, and everyone else at Thin White Line Magazine as well. Jersey Fizzle, before we swing on, how's your week and weekend being, dude?
Yeah, week and weekend's been good, and as always, you know, it's wonderful to be back on your Monday night football and fix. It is we the people for the people, and you know, as I say, without you there is no Pitch Talk. So thank you all. Shout out to my ex-wife, love you baby. Shout out to my next wife, love you baby. Shout out to my future kids, daddy loves you all. Shout out to my enemies, shout out to my frenemies. And you know what, an extra special shout out goes out to JE. You know why? Because real people do real things. That's why.
I went from JE to Jay-Z. Funnily enough, I listened to that tune on my way home earlier. But it is one of them ones where, you know what? So your week and weekend been good? Been all good? Can't up to much?
Well, I watched the Manchester derby. I'll express my feelings on that. But you know, yeah, it was nice. You know, it's my Marjay. Shout out to my Marjay. You know, love you all day, and all week too, and all year. Number 1, after God. So yeah, you know, like it's like that. It's like that.
Well, fair dues. Fair dues. You know what? It is one of them ones where, yeah, and them busy weeks, but making time to see the peeps that mean most. It's always good. It's always good to make the time. I'm doing the Dusty Rhodes voice again. Make the time, daddy, make the time. I said, man, in that dubsy dub kind of mood. One of them was after watching Scott Hall living on the razor's edge, pretty good. But yeah, it is one of them ones. I said, big shout outs to a WhatsApp group that we're in, which is football issues and gossip as well. Big shout outs to JJ Bentley and the guys there. So it is one of them ones. A lot of fun I had on that. Also, well wishes and hopefully a speedy recovery to Crystal Palace's soiree as well after he was involved in a car crash. I think it was on the M4. Yeah, hopefully he gets well soon on that one. Also a big shout out to Tom Wood as well, our resident Southend United fan who was at the Arsenal Man City FAWSL match and met, among others, Miss Tony Duggan of the Lionesses. So it is one of them. So big ups to Tom Wood on that one. But by the way, Manchester City ladies are actually 7 points clear at the top of the FAWSL as well, with Chelsea being second. As you may have seen via the social networks, we actually posted that earlier. So here's one of them ones. Big lead going into crunch time in that league. But you know what? It is one of them ones where, yeah, it is about that time for us to start moving and grooving into the first segment of the show, which is
Generally, talking points. We are Monday Night Football. This is Monday night and we're live on YouTube. And this is Pitch Talk. Yeah, it is about time to roll into some general talking points, some talking points of the general variety. Talking points of the general variety is one of them ones, and where we are going to go is, yeah, somewhat grassroots themed, to be honest. Somewhat grassroots themed. For a number of reasons, but that main reason is the fact that England qualified players at Man United, Chelsea, and Man City are playing less. Now we're going back to come forward. So at the time, as Sam Allardyce was preparing to name his first England squad, statistics show England players at 3 Premier League title favourites are spending less time on the pitch, and that trend looks like continuing this season. Man United, Chelsea, and Man City, who between them won the previous 11 titles triumph last season, have provided a large proportion of England squads at major tournaments in recent years. United's, Chelsea, and City players occupy 12 of the 23 places in England squad for Euro 2012. However, the percentage of minutes played by English men for those clubs in the Premier League has fallen every season since. From 30 players accounting for 37% of the playing time in 2011-2012, 21 players accounted for 25% 5% 2 years later. Number of players have remained consistent from 2014 onwards, but their time on the pitch has continued to fall. 22 Englishmen for United, Chelsea and City made up 20% of the minutes played last season. Only 6 players from United, Chelsea and City featured in the final squad for Euro 2016. So it is one of them ones in terms of this season and beyond. Although the 2016-17 season at that time was only 2 games old, City, United and Chelsea feature in the bottom 5 Premier League teams in terms of playing time for England qualified players. They've used to combine 8 English players this term at that time, which translates to 19.6% of playing time for City, 18.2% for Chelsea and 18.1% for Man United. Now, Joe Hart, obviously at that point, was actually yet to feature in the league. He's actually gone over to Torino. United striker Marcus Rashford, who was another one of the squad for Roy Hodgson in France at Euro 2016, hadn't played the league game until Sunday's Manchester derby. And teammate Chris Smalling had only managed 1 minute of action at that point as well. So it is one of them. Was a total of 104 England qualified players have appeared in the Premier League this season up until that point. So in the first 2 games, but the only 2 clubs with worse percentages than United, Chelsea and City are Stoke and Watford with 9 and 10% of playing time respectively. So it is one of them was. So it's one of them in the statistics though. James Milner and John Terry are actually. So that's a bit of another one. But Ryan Shawcross is the only Englishman to feature for Stoke and Watford's only Englishman. Only English players, qualified English players have been Troy Deeney and Ben Watson, who were sent off after 12 minutes after coming on as a substitute against Southampton. At the other end of the scale, Bournemouth manager Eddie Howe has used the most English players, 11 in the opening 2 games, accounting for 67% of playing time. However, none of those players has a senior international cap between them. Now, I said, moving forward, just a touch, moving forward actually 4 days. Is there evidence of a crisis in grassroots football? To me, that's a rhetorical question. But from the 30th of August 2016, with rising costs of football pitch fees, many coaches of junior clubs across the Midlands claim they are now struggling to get by. In 20 years, the average cost of hiring a pitch for an amateur football club has risen over 1,000%, well over the rate of inflation. ITV News Central were actually looking into this and spoke to coaches across the region who say many clubs were on the brink of folding due to rising fees. Some are even putting thousands of pounds of their own money into clubs just to keep them going. But it is one of them was Leroy Richards, who runs a soccer school in King's Standing in Birmingham, says 5 years ago, he appeared on ITV News Central as the winner of a Pride of Britain award for his coaching work. I think we might have mentioned that on a PT show as well, actually. But fast forward to 2016, and just a couple of weeks before the new season, at that point, his pitches are overgrown and unplayable. It's up to Leroy to find a new way of restoring them to playing standard. Ironically enough, actually, this past weekend, literally yesterday, actually, Sunday 11th of September 2016, the Ibis Eagles had what's called a football force day, where the guys were laying down turf, new turf, putting up goals, and just doing general groundsman kind of work around the club. So this is not the first time I've heard this, but here's one of them was the 51-year-old Leroy Richards, who runs a soccer school in King's Standing in Birmingham, was also awarded an MBE for his services to the community. But he recently has become so disillusioned with the state of funding and support at the junior level, he has considered handing it back. Leroy says he faces an uphill battle with every passing year to keep his school afloat. The rising cost of pitch fees seems to be the overriding factor for coaches. Sporting FC, who he coaches, play in the Central Warwickshire League. They were founded in 1994 when it costed around £800 to hire their playing pitches for a season. That figure now stands at over £10,000. Quite the jump, it must be said. Quite the jump. But it is one of them was the club actually trains in a nearby park in Hodge Hill, as it's too expensive to train on the pitches they hire
for match days. One of the junior club's managers, Kevin Sampson, says that's just the start of it. He says every passing year is a struggle. On top of the 10 grand match pitch hire fees, we have on top of that league fees, referee fees, kits, insurance. Obviously, you have to have public liability as well as other insurance as well. If we don't get all of that is passed on to the parents, and this is a deprived area. In the end, it is the children who lose out if they cannot afford to play. If we don't get enough funds in, the club could cease to exist. That's from Kevin Sampson, junior manager of Sporting FC. Now, 1 to 2% is the amount of revenue from the new TV rights deal in the Premier League that is reaching grassroots level. We've discussed that in detail before, and we're coming back to that as well. But the average fees to hire a pitch for 90 minutes at junior level in the West Midlands is £35 to £80 in Birmingham, 25 quid in Wolverhampton, and £40 in Sandwell. And obviously councils charge per 90 minutes. But 80% of junior football games are actually played on local authority pitches, so you can see where the costs are going. But it is one of them ones. Former professionals are also worried that thousands of children will be deprived of a chance to experience the top levels of the game if parents are relied upon to foot the bill. Former Birmingham City and Notts County striker Paul Devlin now runs soccer academies across the Midlands, and he says he receives no funding from the FA or any other body, again relying on input from parents. He's also worried that the crisis at grassroots level is having an impact on the quality of our national side, which is why we link those 2 points together. But even more, big spending Premier League clubs urged to invest more in grassroots. By the way, big ups to the Football Supporters Foundation as well. You can actually find the Football Supporters Foundation on Facebook. But it is one of them ones where Premier League clubs are coming under renewed pressure to cut ticket prices and invest more of their unprecedented wealth in grassroots football following the first £1 billion transfer window. This from the 1st of September 2016. So we went 24th, 30th, 1st. The mammoth £1.165 billion summer spending spree by top flight teams compounded fears that the vast majority of their staggering £8.4 billion income from broadcasting would be lavished on fees and wages at the expense of fans and development of the game in England. Premier League clubs have already committed to giving away more than £1 billion of their TV revenue in the next 3 years, but supporters groups and politicians yesterday claimed that was still not enough in light of how much was spent on new signings during the most expensive transfer window on record. The chief executive of the Football Supporters Federation, Kevin Miles, told the Daily Telegraph many fans will look with certain discomfort about some of the sums being talked about following the transfer window and drawing conclusions about how some of that money could be better invested and spread across the game as a whole. Actually, you know what? Specifically, Scott Tweed actually brought up something very interesting. I think it was last week or the week before, where he was saying when a homegrown player is sold, should part of that transfer fee go to local community grassroots teams, which is a very interesting thing. So I thought I'd bring that up again. Big ups to Scott Tweed as well, one of our Skypers. But it is one of them ones. But yeah, chief executive of the Football Supporters Federation, Kevin Miles, actually said, we would certainly favour significantly higher percentages of that money being reinvested in grassroots football, the development of the game, the interests of match-going fans, and rather less in the pockets of players and agents. Some close to me will know my feelings on Kia Jarabchian. I also lump certain other guys in that particular bracket too, Minarola. But anyway, leaving that aside, the acting chairman of the Culture, Media and Sports Select Committee, Damian Collins, added, if it's 1 billion of transactions, then the investment into grassroots football is less than 10% of that in a year. The first 6 months of the year, investment in grassroots football, just to put this in perspective, was about £30 million, which would only buy you a fraction of Paul Pogba. Actually, just about a third. It does beg the question, is enough of that huge pool of revenue that the Premier League is generating going into the grassroots game and supporting the development of young players? I can answer that for you in one word, 2 letters. No. Football could easily afford to spend more money on the development of the grassroots game and improving the quality of coaching. The FSF, Football Supporters Foundation, which last year led a wave of protests against Premier League ticket prices, was planning to campaign for further clubs, having successfully lobbied for a £30 cap on the cost of attending away matches.
The groups still want that lowered to £20 as part of their 20s Plenty initiative, and will turn their attention to club sponsors in a new partnership with Virgin Media, who have recently helped Southampton drop their ticket prices. But the partnership began after Virgin became the new shirt sponsor of Southampton of the Premier League, and immediately announced it would subsidise every visiting supporter's ticket during the Premier League games at St Mary's to ensure they pay no more than £20. The Football Supporters Federation was also preparing to lobby against price increases clubs have imposed to counteract the existing £30 cap, including cuts to subsidised transport, as well as intensify efforts to convince the authorities to introduce safe standing into English football, something widely credited with reducing the cost of attending matches. Now, Premier League clubs moved quickly to announce a wave of financial and other pledges after securing another staggering 70% increase in their domestic broadcast income early last year, 2015, which we mentioned on PT Live, that £5.136 billion TV deal. But they included a commitment to pay the living wage to all full-time employees, something the Premier League said it had been implemented in full. They also featured 5 key areas for investment, including grassroots facilities. That participation, fan engagement, solidarity with lower leagues, and supporting disadvantaged groups. Clubs have already delivered, albeit after much wrangling, on a £30 cap on away ticket prices, as well as on structured engagement with supporter groups following the recommendations of a government expert working group. The Premier League insisted its members pledged to surrender more than £1 billion of their broadcast income would be fulfilled. Surrender, it's like that word, like you had to be... Anyway, just the semantics of using the word surrender 1 billion. So yeah, okay, like grassroots football's holding the Premier League hostage. Anyway, leaving that aside, it had been pending an Ofcom investigation into the sale of its TV rights that has now concluded. A flurry of announcements was expected before the end of the season on various facilities development and community schemes, with the Premier League estimating clubs will give away a greater proportion of their income than ever before. That is all on top of their investment in the second phase of the elite player performance plan established to develop more and better English youngsters. The Premier League insists this is all possible because of a business model it believes has created a virtuous circle, no, more like vicious, not virtuous, on the back of the competition's unparalleled success. A spokesman said no league, no football association, no national governing body, no collection of clubs gets anywhere remotely close to the investment and support that the Premier League is given to the development of football in this country, or the investment in communities. Which is a consequence of our sporting success. Yeah, that last line is kind of an odd one, but from Wednesday, 7th of September 2016, if English football is short of coaches, why are badges cheaper in Germany? Tying into this point about our sporting success, wherever England's sporting success is, because I ain't seen nothing since 1966. But yeah, it's one of them. Every time England fail at a tournament, we hear that grassroots football needs more investment. Reducing the cost of coaching badges would be a good start. This from Wednesday, 7th of September 2016. Now, it's one of them with Sam Allardyce, of course, since then has been installed, since the elimination from Euro 2016, has been installed as England manager. But one of the fundamental problems for English football is a lack of a coherent and coordinated approach to grassroots football. English football has a long, tortured history of various factions working against each other. The Football League has been at loggerheads with the FA at varying degrees of intensity since the league was founded in 1888, and more recently, the omnipotence of the Premier League has added to the strife. Now, there's been actually a changing of the guard at the top of the FA as well. Greg Dyke has actually been replaced by former Football League chairman Greg Clark. And one of Clark's first tasks will actually be to appease Sports Minister Tracy Crouch, who as we discussed on Pitch Talk Live last week, says the FA need to reform to keep their government funding. It's really important that public money goes into the grassroots of the game, said Crouch earlier this summer. As said, for more details on what Sports Minister Tracy Crouch said, see our podcast on youtube.com/Pitch Talk on iTunes, Mixcloud, Podomatic, and Spreaker as well.
But it is one of them ones. While football in England is led by organisations with different priorities, and Crouch has said she's genuinely appalled by how Premier League clubs invest their money. The symbiotic relationship between the DFB, the German FA, and Bundesliga clubs seems like a match made in heaven. That relationship helped bring about a renaissance in German football after their exit from the '98 World Cup, and also the disastrous performance at Euro 2000 as well. But it is one of them ones, but we know that story already. Now, couple of interesting things from this as well. It is a case of the Icelandic model also thrives on a unified approach with football authorities all prioritizing three core aspects: coaching, facilities, and strong links with schools. The provision of top quality facilities is a cornerstone of Iceland's success, considering the harsh conditions. Their success, considering the harsh conditions of Icelandic winters, that is a notable achievement. In contrast, the number of decent pitches available to young players in the UK has declined despite the £150 million Parklife project, which was invested in the provision of 3G pitches spread around 30 city-based hubs. Participation in 11-a-side games fell behind small-sided versions of the game, such as 5-a-side quite a few years ago, and the gap is growing, and we've discussed that before on PT Live as well over the years. The Sport England Active People Survey confirmed over the past 5 seasons, traditional 11-a-side football, the number of adult male teams playing affiliated football has dropped. And we've actually had examples in the Southern Amateur League, which we've mentioned, such as Old Westminster Citizens, Old Latimarians over the past few years. So yeah, there are clear examples. But the biggest difference between the UK and Iceland is the provision of coaching for young players. Even some of the youngest age groups are instructed by highly qualified coaches in Iceland. From the age of 4, every child has a UEFA accredited coach. From the under-10s age group upwards, the coach has to hold a UEFA B qualification, a level that allows coaches in England to manage right up to professional clubs. Also, all coaches are paid in Iceland, which is in sharp contrast to the majority of English coaches, who tend to be volunteers, and very few of them will be UEFA B qualified. One of the crucial issues in developing a network of high-quality grassroots coaches in England is the cost of gaining the requisite badges. The fee varies from county to county, but the average cost for level 1 is £152, for level 2 £320, while there is a significant hike to £720 for UEFA B, and then again to £2,965 to take the UEFA A license. So a coach would have to invest over £4,000 to reach UEFA A status from scratch. This is why so many people who climb the coaching ladder seek financial support from their clubs. In Scotland, the total cost is 25% more at over £5,000 in terms of becoming a fully qualified coach. But considering Scotland's failure to qualify for the last 8 consecutive tournaments, that might not be the most beneficial of comparisons. In Germany, actually, the World Cup holders, the UEFA A course is only €800. So here's one of them ones where the director of Sport England, Phil Smith, suggests simply having an appetite for the game is not going to bring success. There is no shortage of football being played at youth level, with 96% of 10-year-old boys playing. There is a myth surrounding the connection between the number of players and elite performance. There is actually very little connection between the two. The FA has actually been criticised in the past for concentrating on the qualifications and professional development of the coaches to the detriment of encouraging players' enjoyment of the game, particularly for younger age groups as well. So, also, funnily enough, actually, Chris Earle, who actually is quite important in terms of the game. He's actually appointed as the head of FA education. That is Chris Earle. Him and his team have already relaunched the level 1 and level 2 coaching courses to reflect the renewed focus on enjoyment, and will be tackling UEFA A and B and the pro licenses in due course. They've also conducted a review of how the coaches themselves were being tutored by a group of 500 who were employed by the FA, and the results led to around half the tutors being released. So here's one of us. As well as getting the core philosophy right, it is equally important to have the sufficient number of qualified coaches. So You know what? Also, by the end of the 2016-17 season, the FA has targeted having 25,000 level 1 and 5,000 level 2 newly qualified coaches, with the vast majority of them still coming from the voluntary sector. A couple of questions come out of this, actually. Grassroots football, and how bad is the decline? We have discussed that at length, but also the prohibitive cost of getting UEFA A licenses, B licenses, and the level 1 and level 2. How much of a factor is that in producing quality coaches? Number one. And number two, in terms of the grassroots game basically being strip mined in terms of support and not getting any support from the Premier League, or at least not much, how crucial is that in terms of the problems and for all intents and purposes, the destruction of the grassroots game? How important is that? It's one of them was Jezzy Fizzle. I'd like you to field those questions, and also your point, and also your view on also England as well. The England qualified players not playing as much for their clubs. Is there a link between grassroots football and the quality of English players and the playing time for English players as well?
I'll make this overarching point first and foremost, and that is that everything with football begins and ends at grassroots. Anybody who thinks otherwise, honestly, you don't know football. And to put it in stronger terms, and I know the straight shooting one will probably say this, you're a moron. Ian, right? Let's go and look at, for example, the likes of a Mikel Antonio or a Jamie Vardy, two players who have recently, rose to prominence with the fact that they are now going to be featuring in the England team. Where did they come from? I'll wait.
Well, look at Jamie Vardy as well as an example.
No, I called his name out as well. I said him and I said Mikel Antonio, but I'm still waiting for those people to get back to me. So I'll continue to wait because I know where they've come from. I know where the next, great few players are going to come from. This is where they start out, right? Even the likes of, say, for example, Anthony Martial. Where do you think he came from? Like, really, this is where the money has to go, because without it, there are no future superstars. It is as simple as that. Now, if we want to go and talk about English qualifying players not playing, look, there's two sides to this story as far as I'm concerned. One of them is the fact that, hey, look, if you're good enough and you're putting in the hours in training, right? And I'm not just talking about in the training sessions. I'm talking about after the training sessions with practice as well, right? So unless you guys are doing that extra work, going that extra mile and proving yourselves to these coaches and showing the fact that you're actually developing and improving, you're not going to get game time. And then the other thing that I will say to you is when you do get given the chance, you have to take it with both hands, both feet, and everything you've got. Because if you don't, look, the Premier League, especially at the top end of the table, is so cut and thrust. It's not about giving chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. That doesn't happen. You have to prove yourself in the chances that you're given, make yourself indispensable. And after that, and only after that, will you begin to play regularly. Right? So these English qualified talents that aren't playing regularly, they may go and get chances in your cup games, for example, your domestic cup games, especially in the early rounds. If they go and take those chances, they force the manager's hand. Right? If you want to go and look at a success story now, I'd use Marcus Rashford and Harry Kane. Right? So there they were. Not that many people knew that much about them. They come in, they play really well, and now, they're more or less established first team players as well. Right? And then, of course, the other side of this, and Mike Harmon brings up an interesting point, it's like, look, if you're an English qualifying player that's not playing regularly at the club that you're at, whether it's a bigger club, medium-sized club, or whatever, look, you might have to be willing to make a move.
Well, recent examples.
Get the spotlight on you because you're going to be one of the better players at that club and perform. Because without it, it won't happen.
Well, the two most recent examples of that would be Joe Hart going to Torino,
He didn't have the greatest debut, but hey, not everyone has a great debut. Just ask Claudio Bravo. But it's one of them. Was the fact of the matter is, like, him, Jack Wilshere, it's like these guys, I think, have finally realized that you're gonna have to move from those top clubs to get the regular game time you need to develop. With Joe Hart, might be a little late for that, considering he's 29. Jack Wilshere might be at the perfect age for it, but it's being willing to make that kind of sacrifice, isn't it?
Oh, it's a matter of, and this is the question that I pose to them, right? What is it worth to you? And it might sound like a strange question, so let me expand on that. What is playing first team football worth to you? What is being a footballer worth to you? Right? If it's, you know, something that you dreamt about, and it means the world to you and everything else, that's your career, that's what, you know, your lifelong dream has been, going on a move is not the worst thing you can do. Right? There have been other more established players that have done it. And I use the example of David Beckham, and I will use it again. And I will say to you, at a point in his career where he has literally no logical reason, no sensible reason, other than his desire to represent his country, to go on loan during the off-season of his league, by the way, to go and play in Europe for a pretty big club and go in their starting lineup and play regularly, you know, like, if he can go and do that at a point in his career where it makes no sense, because he's already done everything there is to do, he's already pretty much won everything there is to win, right? Then these younger players who, by comparison, by the way, have done absolutely nothing, they should be willing to do that and then some, in my opinion.
But the thing is though, for me, with this whole thing, it's a case of once again, it shows you, in my way, for me anyway, it shows me that the Premier League is based on a lot of greed. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Like I said last week, the Premier League may not be the best league in the world, but it's the most lucrative. And at the end of the day, it's one of them. Was a lot of guys are moving to clubs for the money and not realizing that. We've discussed it with Scott Sinclair, Jack Rodwell, Raheem Sterling. We've talked about it with these players where it's like, is this a big move too soon? Generally, that answer is yes. Where it's like, it's too big too soon, and it's going to hinder your development because you ain't going to get the minutes that you need to develop. And for me, that is a major problem. That's what needs to be what these players and these agents need to be actually prioritizing. Not how much money can I make off a deal. Mina Raiola, specifically looking at him. It's one of them was making like 25 million quid off one deal and another 8-9 million off the Ibrahimovic deal. It's like, dude, like, all right. Ibrahimovic is Ibrahimovic. You could say, all right, yeah, he's past that development stage. But the fact of the matter is, you've got too many agents, and also remember agents got deregulated by UEFA as well. That's one thing we discussed last year on a Pitch Talk live show. Agents being deregulated is not a good thing for young players either. Because at the end of the day, what that does is it basically creates a Wild West. Anybody can roll in and be an agent, and you're not exactly going to be good. If you're not savvy enough or you don't know what you're doing, you ain't going to be looking at a player's best interest. You're just going to be looking to get as much money as you can. And I think that's a problem with the game in general. That's a problem with the Premier League especially. The focus is money. The focus is on making as much money as possible and nothing else. Which, all right, football's being run as a business. Fine. But if you're gonna run it as a business, just like pro wrestling, if you're gonna run it as sports, if you're gonna run something like that, like say the WWE as sports entertainment, call it sports entertainment. Don't call it professional wrestling. If you're gonna talk about football as a game, as the people's game, you don't, number one, overprice the tickets and do 70, 80, 60 quid tickets for fans in times that are really, really crunchy.
You don't strip mine grassroots football and barely give it any money, even though you're earning £5.136 billion off the latest bloody TV deal that runs for the next few years. It's one of them ones. If you're calling it the people's game, the beautiful game, you don't do them kind of things. You support the bottom level, because that, as you said, Jesse, that's where everybody starts. That's where everybody starts. It's one of them ones. It is just one of them. For me, it's a case of, as I said, English players and agents need to be prioritizing playing time over money, but also the powers that be, and that's going to be a point that runs through tonight's show. By the way, the powers that be. It's one of them was the powers that be need to be focusing on what's really important. You look at what was said in regards to the Icelandic and German FAs and their equivalents to the Premier League, especially the Bundesliga. And it's one of them ones. The word unified is the key word that comes out of it. That's the word that jumped out. And it's one of them ones. If you ain't got a unified, if you ain't got a unified strategy, you're not going to succeed. And that's been the problem. That's been the problem with English football for decades. The Premier League is out for itself and doesn't care about anyone or anything else. The FA kowtow to the Premier League. So basically the FA kowtows to a selfish organization, which just beggars belief how you can run anything like that. It should be the Premier League answering to the FA, and the FA with the interest of all the players at heart, not the other way round, where the Premier League isn't interested in anyone apart from the almighty buck. There is one of them was they're interested in money and nothing else. No matter what they want to say, yeah, we're going to pledge more money to grassroots football. Stop saying it and do it. Stop talking smack and do it. Because this the one thing that annoys me about this all the time. I personally do not want to have to keep saying the powers that be, the FA, the Premier League, clubs need to invest more in grassroots football to keep grassroots football alive, instead of seeing 5, 6, 7 clubs folding per season. I don't want to have to keep saying that. I really don't want to. But whenever these powers that be come out and say, oh, yeah, we're going to invest more in grassroots football, I just think to myself,
if I wanted crap out of you, I'll pick it out of your teeth.
That's literally all I think. Because the amount of money being invested to grassroots football, hey,
he stuck his leg. He stuck his leg.
It truly is. It truly is a legitimate disgrace. And for me, this country, footballing wise, is never going to succeed until we get some sort of unity. I'm talking top down, from top down unity. Because you look at, there was one actually funny thing, and big ups to Andy Copeland, who actually is a former Pitch Talk Meets guest. It's a case of he does a lot of work. I think it's for East Barnet Old Grammarians in the Southern Amateur League in terms of helping keep that club running. And recently on Facebook, he was not happy at something that the FA had done in terms of admin on the back end, because there's actually a lot of admin that goes into amateur league football with registering players, registering results, facts, stats. And it's one of them was, I mean, we're lucky at our club, Ibis Eagles AFC, where we've got JT, aka John Timmins, who is the stato. He is the man. He can reel off stats till the cows come home. And it's one of them ones, but not every club is fortunate to have that as a resource to tap into, and also someone who's willing to do it too. So it's one of them ones where it's at grassroots level, there's a lot of unity. Because in part, because we're doing it for the love of the game, because a lot of us ain't getting paid to play or do what we do. We're paying to play. And we're sacrificing time, money, and everything else to play. Especially, like I said, the guys at the Ibis Eagles on Sunday, there were a number of guys who were part of the football force. which I'll talk about a bit more later. But for me, it's a case of Man United, Chelsea, Man City's English players playing less. It's not surprising because the quality is not there. And the reason why the quality is not there is because it's not being developed. If the quality ain't being developed, guess what? The quality drops. This is very simple. And if you strip mine grassroots level, how are people gonna hone their skills? How are people gonna get their start in the game and develop their skills and build their skills in the first place if you're chopping out the heart of grassroots football? Where you think development? Where do you think good development, good coaches? Where do you think good players? Where do you think good attitudes come from? You think they come out of thin air? Au contraire, mon frère. It doesn't come out of thin air. It's long-term plans, long-term strategies, and good long-term plans and good long-term strategies. And Brad Hicks has just dropped a good point about greed and corruption runs wild through football. Stick around for our next segment. We've got a whole segment to do with that. Our whole next segment is actually going to be to do with that. So more on that later. But the fact of the matter is, when you're strip mining, when you are literally strip mining and destroying the foundations of an area of football that literally everybody gets started at, what the hell do you think is going to happen? So, I mean, Jesse Fizzle, I don't know if you want to add any more to that, but...
Well, I don't really know if there is much more to add. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, and I've already said most of what I wanted to say earlier on, especially towards those young English talents. It's a matter of either in training, outside of training, whether it's extra training, whether it's as a group or as an individual with one of the coaches. Look, go prove yourself. When you get given the chances, take them. Otherwise, you're going to have to look at alternate options, which is maybe dropping down a level, moving to a different club, and then when you go there, taking your chances. Because unless you do that, especially as an English player, especially in the Premier League, where it's a matter of if you don't take your chances there and then, my friend, there are so many other players of different nationalities that are just waiting to take your place. And when they get the chance, they're taking it. For me, it's just a matter of, unless you step up to the plate and prove yourself, this is the reality of the Premier League. The Premier League is not, let's wait, let's see, let's develop players. No, not anymore. The Premier League is, let's win yesterday. Not now, yesterday. So unless you were doing that, unless you were contributing to that, I'm sorry, but you don't deserve a place in the starting 11 for most of these teams. And this is how it works. Should it be that way? Probably not, but this is how it works. If your team wants to win and win yesterday, you're going to go and field your best 11 players and give them the best chance to go and win the game for you. It's as simple as that. And unless you're one of those best 11, you're not in it. You're not in it. So it's a matter of you going and, as I say, taking your chances, proving yourself, and, making sure that knows that you're worth the investment. Because if you're not proving that week in, week out, for them, unfortunately, you're not. And that's why somebody else gets your place.
I mean, it's one of them ones. It's one of them ones where it's like, again, I just think the greed of the Premier League in terms of financially is hurting not only the England team, but it's hurting grassroots football. Even more importantly, it's hurting grassroots football. And then it's one of them ones, like I said before, if the bottom falls out, then it's only a matter of time before everything else collapses under it. It's like you can't build a castle on sand.
I agree with you to a point. Financially, yes. That is more than obvious. But in terms of developing players, look, there's 5.34 billion?
5.136.
5.136 billion reasons why that doesn't matter anymore, right? So if you can have clubs that, would never see, for example, a £30 million signing, all of a sudden go and make one,
look, here is the thing. It's not a matter of let's sit and wait and develop a young player and bring him through if he's playing well enough and everything else. No, scratch all of that. Forget all of that. It's a matter of, if you're not performing right now, we will get someone to replace you yesterday. And after that, we'll show you the door yesterday, because we're not going to wait around for you anymore. We're not. It's either you step up and perform right now, or as I say, you go and look to find a move, go somewhere where you will be given a chance, and that's probably going to be a step down. And it's as simple as that.
I mean, it's one of them was for me. As I said, for me, it's the fundamental issue. I mean, being a player at grassroots level myself, it frustrates me so much. It frustrates me so much to see that these clubs could spend £1 billion on transfers, and it's one of them ones where only one they can sign up to a £5.136 billion TV deal. They can spend £1 billion between 20 teams on transfers, but yet only 1.2% of that money ever sees grassroots level. Like, we're talking 20 teams in comparison to thousands. There are thousands of grassroots teams around the country that desperately need help. Like entities like, say, the Football Foundation and that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, it's all well you giving, like we've discussed before on PT Live, it's all well you giving like grants to start a team, but maintenance is the key thing, and maintenance is the problem. Like, if you get a grant of £5,000 and it's like, yeah, okay, we can buy pitches for one season, we could hire pitches out for one season or a couple of months, or we can buy goals, we could buy whatever facilities. It's like, okay, then what happens afterwards? Then what happens? That's one of them ones. And it's like I said, it's a frustration. Being a grassroots player, and not only for my own team, but going around and looking at other teams as well and what's happened to them. Old Westminster Citizens. What's happened to them because they lost their ground? I think they couldn't afford it. So one of them was they lost their ground, and they're basically now only a veterans team. They've only got one team left because they had to pull out of the Southern Amateur League because they lost their ground. Their membership dwindled. So it's one of them was it's frustrating to see so many people who love the game getting driven out of it because of rising costs. And you look at councils. I mean, you look at the story we discussed about the Midlands, and that's a common theme around the country. Where it's one of them ones where it used to be 800 quid to hire pitches, now it's 10 grand. So what? It's like 1,000% above inflation, like, in terms of rises. That's above inflation, and it's like, and it's one of them ones where it's just, as I said, it's utterly frustrating to see this. It is utterly frustrating to see this happening. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. I said the thing that needs to change is that the Premier League needs to stop thinking about itself and stop only thinking about itself, because the greed is not only hurting the national team, but it's hurting the grassroots level as well. And there's more than enough pieces of pie to go around. Clearly, if one league of 20 teams can have £5.136 billion invested in the TV deal, and it's just between those 20 teams, there is more than enough money going around in the game. And our next segment, we'll actually discuss that. But I mean, if any of the Skypers want to jump in, please let us know. But this is one of them where I can't see an end in sight. I can't see an end in sight for this unless the amorality of the Premier League changes. That's for me, that's the only way that this is going to change. But considering the FA are kowtowing through the Premier League and don't want to ruffle feathers, it's
it's just one of the 10 ones. It's just a perpetuating cycle. I don't care if Greg Clark has come in and said, "Oh yeah, we're going to help grassroots football." All right, cool. If you're going to help grassroots football, how are you going to do it? Or even better, just do it. Like the Nike slogan, just do it. So that, I mean, it's actually just a funny one. It very much is just a funny one. But I mean, as I said, England. I mean, it is one of them ones where English players do need to start thinking outside the box if they want playing time. Because if you ain't getting it in the Premier League because the Premier League is all about instant success, then yeah, you do need to start plying your trade elsewhere. Then you legitimately do need to. So hell, I mean, it's one of them ones. I mean, Mike Harneman, you said a couple of interesting things in the Skype chat whilst we were going through some of the stories contributing to this segment. Do you want to read out what you said in the Skype chat? Because there was a couple of interesting points in there.
Right, yeah. Let's just scroll up and find what it was. It was a bit about Jack Wilshere, wasn't it? That bit.
Yeah, and a bit more as well.
Oh, the bit above it as well. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the gist of what I was saying was sort of, based around with England. Really, it's kind of take it from an Arsenal perspective. The way that I look at things, being an Arsenal fan, it's like us being in the Champions League for what was it, 19, 20 odd seasons, and basically you kind of competing to get into the tournament, but when you're actually there, you're just kind of making up the numbers, and you have no bearing on the actual tournament itself. It's kind of similar with the Premier League as well, and kind of finishing fourth as well, and third and that in recent years again. So it's kind of similar with that. But what I was saying about Jack Wilshere as well, if I can find that bit, was about he's obviously, he went to the Euros, he barely featured for Arsenal, and there was a lot of players who were coming up through the rankings, like the Antonios, the Drinkwaters, the Mark Nobles as well, who featuring regularly for their clubs and kind of still not getting a fair chance and a fair look in. It's players like Jack Wilshere. Obviously, he's gone out on loan this season to kind of try and build his fitness up and his get himself back fully fit again and get himself rightfully in that England squad. But when you've got players like Drinkwater and Mark Noble playing the same position and playing regularly, like week in, week out, then it's a tricky one to call. It really is difficult.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong in terms of. I mean, you're not wrong in terms of it being difficult. But at the end of the day, I think the key word is balance. The key word is balance. I mean, you look at Wilshere moving to Bournemouth. I mean, Eddie Howe bringing him on as a sub. It's one of them ones where it's like, yeah, that makes sense, because Wilshere has proved over the past couple of years that he needs to prove his fitness. So when people were like, "Oh my God, isn't he Bournemouth's best player? Why is he getting used as a sub?" It's like the guy is going there to prove his fitness. You don't want to start him and see him break down after 20 minutes, do you? Because that defeats the object of him going there. So it's like, I have actually seen people saying that on Facebook over the weekend and Twitter as well. It's like, why is Wilshere not starting? Why is he only coming off the bench for a few minutes? And it's like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, are people really that stupid? Are people actually?
Yeah, but these are probably the same Arsenal fans that are slating Lucas Perez after one game.
Yeah,
it's the same people.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of them was it's like people slating guys like Paul Pogba. It's like, yeah, Pogba's been quiet. For me, it's one of them ones. Yeah, the price tag dictates that dude can't ever have a quiet game. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, the guy's only human. But at the same time, it's like, well, we're only 4 games into a season, so no sweeping judgments can really be made. As happy as I am at Liverpool's win against Leicester, there are still defensive deficiencies that were there against Arsenal and there against Burnley too. So it's like, it's one of them ones where it's like, we live, that, like what Jesse Fizzle was saying in terms of the Premier League being ultra fickle, we live in a fickle society. We really do. We really, really do. It's just a shame that a lot of this stuff is based on greed. I mean, it's just one of them ones where it's
it's annoying more than anything. But I mean, the top level pretty much is always going to be based on greed as long as the money keeps creeping up. And that's something that ain't going to change, unfortunately. Because I'm almost hoping that there is some sort of significant collapse, potentially of a big club. And I've said before that Liverpool, we really should have been made an example of in that regard, as much as it always hurts me to say it. We should have been made an example of, considering what happened, what almost happened with us. It's one of them, as it might take a huge club to basically go under to affect some sort of change. But by then, it'll be too late. But I don't know. I'm just hoping that the wake-up call does not come at the expense of the grassroots game. I'm hoping the grassroots game doesn't disappear before this wake-up call comes. Because the football needs a wake-up call, definitely. But, it's one of them ones. But you know what? It is one of them ones where it is about time. It is about time for us to just jump into a quick pause for the cause. We're going to just take a quick little break. And we shall be right back in a couple of minutes with your Monday Night Football and Fix. We still got more show, so stick around. We'll see you. The football talk show that holds back nothing on opinions.
Straight shooting LJA.
Hi, I'm John Sitton.
Grassroots coach Manisha Taylor.
Hello, I'm Rob Perez.
G-Man.
Samir Sweeney, Motivate Sports and Fitness.
Christian Carambeu.
Matt Hodgson, director of the 4-year plan.
We the people, for the people. Jazzy Fizzle.
Your Monday Night Football and Fix.
Make sure you join the revolution.
The pitch is where we eat.
The pitch is where we sleep.
And the pitch is where we talk. Each and every Monday night of your life.
At youtube.com/pitch talk.
For podcast links and information, check out our official website, www.pitch-talk.com. Monday Night Football and Fix Pitch Talk is brought to you by and in association with
Talking Pie, a local podcast made by the fans for the fans of Notts County FC, hosted by Adam and Thomas Hewitt.
Simply Exclusive Entertainment. If you need a party or rave film, go to sxemedia.com for more information.
Apparently Rich, simple yet effective web solutions to help get your company off the ground. Visit apparentlyrich.com for more information. And LJA Productions, the new blood in digital video. If you need a video filmed and or edited, check out ljaproductions.co.uk. LJA Productions, the new blood in digital video, offering video production services such as video editing, video encoding for the web, including YouTube and Vimeo, audio recording, filming of interviews, promos, live events, and much more. Get in touch at www.ljaproductions.co.uk or twitter.com/LJA Productions and let the new blood in digital video promote you. Pitch Talk is brought to you by and in association with
the one-stop shop for all your coaching needs, Motivate Sports and Fitness. Check out motivatesportsandfitness.com for more information.
The new football culture magazine, Thin White Line. Check out thinwhitelinemagazine.com for more information.
Storm FM with new hot releases played daily. Feel the boom at stormfm.net.
Two girls with their Bonnie Scotty trying to cover as much women's football as they can. Girls on the Ball. Check out girlsontheball.com for more information.
Hello, I'm Rob Perez.
Grassroots coach Manisha Taylor.
Christian Carambeu.
Matt Hodgson, Director of the 4-year plan.
David Godkin.
I'm Rob Lusher.
Andy Copeland from the Glennet Southern Amateur League.
Philip Wick, I'm CEO of 14.
Former chairman of Ibis FC.
Chairman of Alexandra Park FC.
And you're listening.
And you're listening to Pitch Talk.
The only place to get your Monday night footballing fix.
Because the pitch is where we eat.
The pitch is where we sleep.
And the pitch is where we talk. Make sure you join the revolution, the football revolution.
International and continental talking points.
You know what? Yeah, we've had quite an interesting little debate in the Skype chat in regards to grassroots football and the last point that we were actually talking about. And you know what? It is one of them ones we do want to ask. Scott Tweed, do you want to read out the points that you put in Skype? Would you like to articulate those for the people? Because we'd like to hear them. There's some interesting points in it.
Yeah, evening all. Yeah, really, it was just around. Just my point was about. Let me just find it. Sorry. Yeah, it's just from my experience, a lot of Sunday league and Saturday league teams. You know, you turn up for a pre-season, trial, which is quite interesting, really, and at that sort of level. To have people say, "Oh, my mates, played for this team and that team," and it all seems to be very sort of like focused around players that are deemed as talented at Saturday and Sunday league level, rather than actually groups of mates who just enjoy playing football. Yeah, that was really the main point. And also, I've, from my experience, personal experience, and people that I know, actually, we've kind of been priced out of playing amateur football on a Saturday and a Sunday when you're turning up and paying £7, £10, £12, contribution to the pitch and what have you, and the ref fees, plus all the signing on fees. It's actually quite an expensive pastime to be taken up.
But the thing is, though, it's expensive because none of it's subsidized because there's no money coming down from the top. Do you see where the link is?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've said it on here before. It's disgraceful, really, the amount of money that's gone to the professional game. That it seems to, instead of it funneling down how it should do, it funnels all the way up, and it's just like a volcano, really. All the money's pouring out the top, and everyone else down the bottom is kind of just getting the scraps, if anything at all, really.
I mean, that is definitely a frustration. I mean, it's one of them ones where it's kind of like just purely on the basis because clubs are having to. Well, because clubs are basically having to subsidize themselves, it's one of them was they're having to charge top dollar. I mean, some clubs are partly subsidizing stuff, but there's only so far you can really stretch. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a constant battle to get membership fees out of people. I mean, with the Ibis Eagles, it's 120 quid. So it's like it's one of them ones. There was a lot of wrangling about should we put it up, but at the end of the day, we have to put it up, and we have to put match fees up because the pitch hire fees have gone up. So it's one of them ones. I mean, bearing in mind on a weekly basis, a referee costs 34 quid, and Gavin will attest to this because he's done it before as well. But it's one of them was referees in the Southern Amateur League level of 34 quid per game. Then you've got to pay for obviously post-match hospitality, which is food, couple of sandwiches, da 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 da. So one of them was for both teams. So that can run up quite a bill as well. And every bit of money left goes into the club. And then you got certain guys. I mean, it's one of them was you got certain guys who may not be able to afford it, and certain guys who may be students, da, 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 da. And it's like it's a very expensive pastime, as Scott Tweed said, and also it's a juggling act. It's very much a juggling act. So, I mean, it's just one of them. It's a bit disheartening. It's a bit disheartening. But you know what? Yeah. Speaking of disheartening, you know what? Let's pull that track back, just purely on the basis of. Yeah, thought we'd just pull that back just a second because International Continental Talkers, and a big thank you to the Skypers for their opinions so far as well. Where we're going to go with International Continental talking points is corruption in football. Franz Beckenbauer invested for corruption over the 2006 World Cup. This is from the 1st of September 2016. Now, there's a reason why we're going through this. Swiss prosecutors have opened a criminal investigation into German football legend Franz Beckenbauer and 3 others over Germany's bid for the 2006 World Cup. As members of that Cup's organising committee, they are suspected of fraud, criminal mismanagement, money laundering, and misappropriation. Some of the alleged crimes were carried out on Swiss territory. Mr. Beckenbauer, who headed the bid, has previously denied corruption. Last October, as we mentioned on PT Live, he said he had made a mistake in the bidding process to host the competition in 2000, but denied votes had been bought. In March, football's world governing body FIFA began looking into 6 men for their part in Germany winning rights to the 2006 World Cup. After launching their own investigations linked to those of FIFA, Swiss prosecutors named 4 suspects. This is on September 1st. Franz Beckenbauer, the former vice president of the German Football Association, president of the 2006 World Cup Local Organizer Committee, LOC, and former member of the FIFA Executive Committee. Wolfgang Niersbach, former president of the DFB, former vice president of the LOC, and current member of the FIFA and UEFA Executive Committees. Theo Zwanziger, former president of the German Football Association, vice president of the LOC, and former member of the FIFA and UEFA Executive Committees. Horst Rudolf Schmidt, former secretary general of the German Football Association and vice president of the LOC. The premises were searched in 8 undisclosed locations with the cooperation of the Austrian and German authorities, the prosecutors said. Mr. Beckenbauer's home in Austria was among the properties searched, according to the Associated Press agency. Several suspects were also questioned, the prosecutors added. Now, Germany beat South Africa 12-11 in the World Cup vote, which took place in July 2000. The Swiss investigation centers on the use of €7 million, £6 million, $7.8 million, later reduced to €6.7 million earmarked for a gala event. It is suspected that the suspects knew that this sum was not being used to fund the gala event, but instead to repay a debt that was not owed by the German Football Federation. The prosecutor said in the statement. In particular, it is suspected that the suspect willfully misled their fellow members of the executive board and the organizing committee for the 2006 World Cup. This was presumably done by the use of false pretenses or concealment of the truth, thus inducing the other committee members to act in a manner that caused the DFB a financial loss. No further details were given. But reporting on this as well, Germany's Der Spiegel magazine said the investigation centered on payments made from 2002 to 2005. Last October, Mr. Beckenbauer said he did not give money in order to buy votes to anyone in order to buy votes. But in a statement, he said, in order to get a subsidy from FIFA for the organization of the 2006 World Cup, those involved went ahead with a proposal from the FIFA Finance Commission that in today's eyes should have been rejected. I, as president of the then organizing committee, bear the responsibility of this mistake. Now, staying with this, 8th of September 2016, FIFA's ethics body will investigate ex-German official Helmut Sandrock after a report alleged he broke conduct rules during Germany's 2006 World Cup bid. So this is a 5th person being intimated in this. The report recommended Sandrock, who resigned as German Football Association General Secretary in February, is fined and should perform social work. FIFA has been investigating Sandrock and 5 others since March over the awarding of the World Cup, as we just mentioned as well. However, in its report, FIFA's ethics committee said Sandrock had violated its general rules in governing conduct, loyalty, and duty of disclosure, cooperating and reporting. In November, tax authorities raided the DFB's headquarters after it emerged the federation had made a secret payment of 6.7 million euros to FIFA in 2005. An internal audit failed to find any trace of the money in DFB's tax documents. The DFB denied the claims as well. But basically, German news weekly Der Spiegel had claimed the money had been used to set up a slush fund to buy votes in the 2006 World Cup bidding process. Now, staying with corruption even more this is going to the very top. The man who's the former FIFA president. It is one of them ones where, he is being investigated for alleged bribery and corruption. FIFA have launched a formal investigation into former President Sepp Blatter over allegations of violating the governing body's rules regarding bribery and corruption, as well as offering and accepting gifts. This from Friday, 9th of September 2016. FIFA have also confirmed that former General Secretaries Jerome Valcke and Marcus Kattner are also being investigated for the same alleged offences. Kattner faces a further charge related to a breach of confidentiality. According to the Press Association, the case relates to the large salaries that Blatter, Valcke, Kattner allegedly paid themselves, while they are also accused of leaking information about Blatter's replacement as FIFA president Gianni Infantino. Kind of ties into a point I was making. But a FIFA statement said the deputy chairman of the investigatory chamber of the ethics committee has opened formal proceedings against Joseph Blatter, the former president of FIFA, Jerome Valcke, the former general secretary of FIFA, and Marcus Kattner, former acting secretary general and director of finance and corporate services. The investigatory chamber will investigate possible violations of Article 13, general rules of conduct, Article 15, loyalty, Article 19, conflicts of interest, Article 20, offering and accepting gifts and other benefits, and Article 1, bribery and corruption of the FIFA Code of Ethics in the context of salaries and bonuses paid to Mr. Blatter, Mr. Valcke, and Mr. Kattner, as well as other provisions included in the contracts of these 3 individuals. Now, we of course know the story of how and why Blatter resigned. We're not going to go into that again. We've done corruption in football special features. But again, staying with corruption, El Salvador. On the 7th of September 2016, this is kind of an odd one that arose. El Salvador players refused financial incentives for Canada World Cup qualifier. El Salvador players were offered financial incentives before the World Cup 2018 qualifying campaign game against Canada, the country's football association has confirmed. It said Salvadorian businessman Ricardo Padilla offered the players rewards to win, draw, or avoid a heavy loss. A heavy defeat could have seen Canada progress at the expense of El Salvador's neighbors, Honduras. Canada won 3-1, but Honduras went through with a 0-0 draw against Mexico. World football governing body FIFA and regional confederation CONCACAF, which governs football in Central and North America and the Caribbean, have confirmed they are investigated. In a recording played by El Salvador's captain Nelson Bonilla at a news conference, Padilla promised various amounts of money to players depending on the result. The amounts range from £22 a minute for a win to £7 a minute for a 1-0 defeat. In reference to what we heard, we want to make it clear that we are against anything of this kind, Bonilla added. We want to be transparent about everything that has happened with the national team. 14 El Salvador players were previously banned for life in 2013 after being found guilty of match fixing. Padilla, who's a former president of El Salvador club Alianza FC, told a newspaper in the country that he was not asking the players to match fix. Now, so on them once again, corruption at the top levels of clubs and the top levels of football. Ipswich Town owner Marcus Evans faces Olympics ticket tout in charge. From the 7th of
of September 2016. The owner of Ipswich Town Football Club has been charged in connection with a ticket touting case in August Olympic Games in Brazil. Marcus Evans is among 9 people investigated over ticket scalping, conspiracy, and ambush marketing. Mr. Evans, who runs his own sports hospitality company and sponsors the club, denied any wrongdoing and said the allegations are totally without foundations. Brazilian prosecutor Marcos Cac told Associated Press he had decided to charge Mr. Evans along with the Olympic Council of Ireland President Patrick Hickey and 7 others after reviewing the police investigation. Police investigator Aloysio Falcao said authorities wanted to speak to IOC President Thomas Bach about email exchanges between him and Mr. Hickey. So it is one of them was the authorities have no evidence that Mr. Bach knew about the alleged ticket scam, the investigators said. But it is one of them ones where a spokesman for Marcus Evans, who runs the Marcus Evans Group in THG Sports, confirmed he was aware of the charges but referred to previous statements which said the companies had acted at all times lawfully and any suggestion to the contrary is just not true. Ticket scalping or ticket touting involves the resale of tickets for admission to events at a higher price, with ambush marketing involving a company trying to associate its products with an event that already has official sponsors. Staying with corruption, it is one of them ones. With that, staying with corruption, 3rd of September 2016, Mark Halsey, Professional Game Match Officials Limited, denies former referee's lie claims. This is from the 3rd of September. Former referee Mark Halsey's claims that he was told to lie after a game have been denied by the body which oversees match officials. Halsey said on Twitter that he had seen an incident and been told to say, I haven't. He spoke out after Manchester City Sergio Aguero received a retrospective 3-game ban for violent conduct. However, the PGMOL said there is no pressure to include or omit anything. The body statement continued. Match officials submit their reports, including critical incidents, directly to the FA. Match officials ensure that their reports are a full and accurate description of the incident. And Mark Halsey, who retired in 2013, also pointed out these were issues he had previously mentioned in his autobiography 3 years ago. He later added, to be fair to the FA, it's not them. It comes from within the PGMOL, Professional Game Match Officials Limited. Formed in 2001, the PGMOL was basically established when referees turned professional and aimed to improve standards across the Premier League, Football League and FA competitions in England, as well as training and development. Had the incident that saw Aguero banned by a Football Association panel for elbowing West Ham's Winston Reid been witnessed by a match official, including referee Andre Mariner, the retrospective punishment would not have been possible. And former Man United captain Gary Neville said Halsey's claims were too big to avoid a full investigation. Now, a lot to take in terms of corruption in football. Jezzy Fizzle, your view on these, and if any of the Skypers want to jump in, we'd love to hear your views too. But Jezzy, take it first, man.
Again, I'm just going to make an overarching statement, and it just seems to be that corruption in football is very, very real. Really real, and something needs to be done. You know, it's a matter of, okay, let's accept the fact that it's there. Let's accept the fact that, you know, some officials have been got to. Let's accept the fact that some players have been got to. Let's accept the fact that there were, you know, rings of people, groups of people that have come together to influence the results of games. And this is something that's active. It's not something that's passive. So with that being said, the real question is, what are the powers that be going to do about it? You know, it's not a matter of, oh, well, it's there and it's terrible. Yeah, that's done. That's the past. What are we going to do about it now and in the future? You know, are there going to be task force put in place to go and investigate these things, to go undercover, to expose these things, or not? Does, you know, these kinds of activities, do they have a place in world football, or don't they? And if they don't, how are you going to show that they don't, for example? So, you know, for me, it's a tough one to swallow. But then it's a matter of, if you look across sport, this is what happens. These things are rife in sport, across sport, and football isn't an exception.
It's not an exception. Is it disappointing to know that in the Premier League, that one of the top officials has been told, "Hey, listen, no, you didn't see that," and that's what you're going to say in your report? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. How are you supposed to go and have a respect campaign or any campaign where you back officials when this is what is happening with officials, even though other officials have come out and said, "Oh no, that's not the case. That's not how it works." Look, there's a reason why this particular official has come out and said that. So, again, I just think it's a matter of what is going to be done about it right now. We're supposed to, kind of ignoring the problem and sweeping it under the rug. For me personally.
But you see, but for me, it's one of them ones, and I think you hit the nail on the head with the phrase "sweeping under the rug," and that for me is one of the major problems. A lot of this kind of stuff ends up getting swept under the rug. Like the big media outlets will talk about it and maybe discuss it briefly, and then it will just get swept away. It'll get discarded. And it's like, and then because of that, nothing ever gets done about it. And this in part is why we do and have done so many special feature segments about corruption in football. Look at our Pitch Talk push points and rants of the week, like us, and also special feature segments on YouTube about corruption in football. And the fact of the matter is, it's just the fact that it's one of them ones where the fact is, you look at these bans. I mean, you know what? Something that actually came out today. Actually kind of annoyed me. Something that actually annoyed me today. In regards to bans and that kind of thing. Michel Platini, the dude is serving a 4-year ban from all football-related activities that was handed down by FIFA, but yet he's been given permission to attend the next UEFA meeting. And it's like, and I'm literally reading this and thinking, but he's banned. He's banned from all football-related activity. Imagine this dude can't even go and watch park football. It's like, no, you're not allowed. Go away. You ain't coming to the meeting. Your invite has been rescinded. Your place has been taken. And oddly enough, Platini's place will be taken very soon, because UEFA, I think, are going to vote for a new president next month, October 2016. So it's one of them. Actually, no, I think it's actually this month. So the fact of the matter is, what FIFA are making special dispensation for a man who I've long touted as their next president, because like that ban, I think his ban is backdated till like October of 2015. So he'll be back just in time for the next FIFA elections. Just keep that in mind. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to punish someone, punish him. Don't come back and reel it back in afterwards. This thing with match fixing is a plague, just like corruption, that won't go away. And the reason why it won't go away, and the reason why Mark Halsey's claims are so significant as well, is because for me, the corruption that is rife at the top of the game, everybody is seeing this. People are seeing this. Some will speak out, some won't. If you don't speak out against corruption, then you're a stooge, you're a moron, you're a J-bone. And it's one of them ones, you're pretty much as bad as the people doing it, because you know it's there and you ain't speaking up against it, or you're only speaking up against it when it suits you, or when you can twist it into an agenda that benefits you. No. Corruption is a negative thing, no matter what form it takes, no matter where it is, whether you're stacking shelves at Sainsbury's and someone's bloody stealing every third drink they're putting onto the shelves. That's corrupt, and they're a manager and they can get away with it. It's one of them ones. That is corruption. Corruption at that level is wrong. Corruption of stealing millions is wrong too. So speak out against one, speak out against all. Now, for me, it's one of them was this thing with the match fixing thing with El Salvador and this referee's reporting thing that Mark Halsey has brought up. It's a case of it's not a surprise. It is actually not a surprise, to be perfectly frank, because the fact that football has got so much riding on it now, and the good old boy networks don't want to rock the boat. It's like Shane Douglas, aka Troy Martin, and his breaking kayfabe. He's like, no, you can't speak up against this because you're going to jeopardize my paycheck. I mean, he's talking in regards to teaching. He's talking in regards to teaching, but the same rules apply. These people involved in this crap ain't going to speak up against it, and they're not going to do anything about it because they're making kickbacks off it. Or sorry, not kickbacks, disloyal payments. The FIFA Ethics Committee, on a general basis, for me, is a case of,
if I want any crap out of you, I'll pick it out of your teeth.
Because to call a backhander or a bribe or corruption disloyal payments, you're basically advocating it without saying you're advocating it. The way you're softening how it sounds, you're pretty much advocating it. So it's one of them ones. It's an absolute disgrace if referees are actually pressurized into actually lying and saying, no, I didn't see that. No, I didn't see it when they did. That's a disgrace. And Mark Halsey's comments need to be investigated and investigated fully by an independent body, because you can't let that happen, because number one, that undermines every single referee, and number two, every single refereeing decision gets undermined. But then I guess the bigger picture of that is they want to bring in video referees. The IFAB are already testing it, and it's already been tested in the MLS. So it's one of them ones where I guess that speeds up the process to that. Just saying, as a theory, just saying that as a theory. Really, I'm just saying that as a theory. I just like to say that. But it's one of them ones. I mean, this whole thing with Beckenbauer, Katner, among others, and also Blatter being investigated. I said, why is it the FIFA Ethics Committee doing it? You can't have friends investigating friends. You got to remember who created that FIFA Ethics Committee. I swear it was Sepp Blatter. So how are they investigating?
And don't forget the Council of Wisdom.
Yeah, it's one of them ones, a Futurama reference. It's one of them ones. The fact that it's Swiss prosecutors opening the criminal investigation into Franz Beckenbauer and the others as well, I'm glad. I'm actually glad it's Swiss prosecutors and it's not people to do with football, because then that means something's actually going to get done. Because the FIFA Ethics Committee investigating Helmut Sandrock, I don't see anything going on from that. I really don't see anything happening from that. But the fact of the matter is, it's just one of them where it's just utterly abysmal. And when you've got that example being set at the top of the game, and that's to do with World Cup bids, and then you got Blatter to do with disloyal payments and basically kickbacks and that kind of thing, then what do you expect to happen in the rest of the game? Leadership by example. And if leaders are taking kickbacks, bribes, and the rest, then of course everyone else is going to think, well, they're doing it, we can do it too. And then the whole thing collapses in on itself. It's pain. It is actually painful to see. It really is pain. It really is painful to see. But I mean, Jamie Bailey, welcome to the show. And also, you wanted to jump in on the points that we've mentioned so far, didn't you, on this segment?
Yeah. Hope everybody's all right. Just a big. I don't know. For me, this whole situation with Platini, that's just UEFA and UEFA and FIFA just in general. That's not really a conversation that I really want to continue with. In terms of the making betting from the hierarchy down, you've got to look at this. For me, I have to look at it this way, in my opinion. it's become more of a big thing to do now than it was before. And the only reason why is because it's become socially adept to play poker and stuff like that among friends. So at some point, of course, it was going to become something, as you say, Liam, a microcosm of life, of the modern world. So it's pretty much the same thing. If they weren't going to be, I would be surprised if they didn't bet. And not only that, it's not something I do, but I'm not shocked by the fact that somebody who's a referee has come out and said it. It's not really big news for me. What is big news is the fact that it's taken so long just for it to happen. Obviously, you see the only way that you can stop it is by taking it off, by stop advertising it. That's the biggest thing. By stop making it a public thing to do. And then obviously you realize, okay, well, why are we betting? We haven't got a reason. Why are people playing poker? We haven't got a reason. It's the same thing with fitness. Most people will say, well, why are they running? You don't have to run. And walking still exercise. It's no different. That's the point that I'm trying to get to. The only way that you can stop it is by changing it or adapting it, or better still, just not showing it at all. And whilst the football is making money off of it, they're not going to stop it. So the only way that it's going to stop, to answer Jez's question, is if you take betting out of football, which means that there's a lot of people that are going to lose out on the big salaries. That's pretty much where the billions have come into for the transfer markets.
Well, some players have been caught recently. I mean, you look at the Martin Di Michelis. You look at the Martin Di Michelis thing. When he got caught recently and charged in terms of betting offences. But even that's not necessarily a new thing because of who was it? Klaus Lundekvam a couple of years ago came out and talked about players and being involved in spot fixing, basically betting on the amount of corners that are going to be, or when the first corner is going to be taken in a game, and then actually them players themselves making sure of it.
But then that's the thing. Look at when it's something that my dad told me. He said that somebody, I can't remember if it was Charlie Nicholas or somebody else. They used to be up in the pub and then in the betting shop, betting on horses, 15 minutes before a game, and that's a big league match back in the 70s. So this has been going on for years. The only difference is people are now realizing that it's been going on, that they have to do something about it. Well, no, you don't. The only reason why I'm saying that they have to do something, they don't have to do something about it, is the only person it's actually hurting is the people that's on in the stands. They're going to see a match, right? And they're having to pay Sky TV for a match that's already been scripted, apparently. So
we don't want football going the way of pro wrestling.
Say that again.
We don't want football going the way of pro wrestling, where it's fixed.
Well, it's just that's the way that it seems to be going. But if that's the case, then football, like as I said, and I've said it to a number of coaches as well. The moment you take football out of money out of football is the moment that you bring football back to its roots. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again and again and again. There is a bit more of a surprise though, and the surprise is how you managed to still kick that ball whilst you was literally looking to kick it. You remember your little picture? You remember your update, your Facebook picture?
Oh, my one, yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping that you didn't swing a miss.
No, never a swing and a miss. It was actually part of PT on the road at Jude and Nally's open coaching session. You can actually see the result of that kick. So, but
you managed to show him your skills rather than actually show him what you don't do.
No. I was hosting that day. But you know what? Yeah. But coming back to the point, because want to jump in with Scott Tweed as well. Scott, you wanted to jump in with your opinions on this segment and what we've mentioned so far as well.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of match fixing and things like that, we need to go back to basics. Whatever you do in life, you're going to get people that are going to try and cheat somebody, cheat a group of people, and quite often cheat themselves. So we have to accept that. We have to accept that no matter what it is, whatever it involves, there's going to be people out there that are going to want to get an advantage on somebody or something through whatever means possible. So we have to accept that. However, when it comes to match fixing in football, I strongly believe that there should be a blanket zero tolerance attitude of a one striking out. If you get caught, if you get caught gambling on a game that you are involved in, then that is it. You should be immediately sacked from your club, and that should be the be all and end all. There should be no kind of, as harsh as it sounds, there should be no time and no energy put into rehabilitation, because if you set the rules out quite clearly from the beginning that you do not and you must not commit X, Y, and Z offences involving gambling, betting, and that kind of thing in your profession, then you've laid out all the rules. People should have an understanding of what those rules are, and they should play by those rules. If they choose not to, it should be zero tolerance. And that should be in retrospect as well. So players, referees, managers, whoever who are involved in the professional game, who come out and take part in interviews after their career has ended, write books after their careers have ended, go on the radio after their careers have ended, and either allude to or make direct accusations, allegations, or tell the truth that these things have happened during their time, there should be some form of punishment in retrospect as well. I think it should be zero tolerance. It cannot be acceptable in a sport which is professional, which is well paid, where people are in the limelight, they are adored and adhered to, by millions, that it should even come on their radar to try and cheat their club, their teammates, their managers, their coaches, the people that have put their trust in them. And the most important people that they end up cheating are the fans, the people that pay their money week in, week out to watch them play.
Yeah. It's a great point. I mean, it's one of them, at least with the Harlem Globetrotters against the Washington Generals, that is fixed. The Harlem Globetrotters are always going to win. You know that already. But football is one of them ones where it's supposed to be right. These two teams go toe to toe, and you don't know what's going to happen. It's one of them ones that for me, match fixing, bribes, spot fixing, that goes completely against the foundation of the game, the fabric of the game, that it is supposed to be a competition, an athletic contest to see who the best of the best is, not seeing who can buy being the best. That's why so many of us have a problem with kind of the way Man City have come up in recent years, the way Chelsea did it under the Abramovich era, because they were looked upon as buying their way to success, when it should be you earn your success, you build, you have a long-term strategy, and then that comes to fruition through the success. But I am in agreement with you, Scott, in terms of draconian action, punish uniformly and in a draconian fashion is one of my mantras. But getting rid of someone straight away, you kind of will leave yourself open legally. But I'm one of them ones where it's like, I do agree with you to an extent, because Platini, Blatter, them two getting found guilty of disloyal payments, or as I'm calling them, and I have called them, backhanders, bribes, brown paper bag envelope payments. It's one of them was under the table, sneaky ones. One of them was, the fact of the matter is, because of their positions and where they are as the powers that be at the two biggest organizations in football, them guys should have been thrown out, lifetime banned straight away. No court of arbitration appeal, banned straight away. It's like, oh, you want to abuse your power? I'm going to abuse my foot in your backside and get you out of the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna abuse my foot with your backside by kicking you completely out of the game. That's what I'm looking at. And it's just one of them ones. I think it's one of them ones when you got corruption at the top, it basically advocates it for every other level of the game. So it needs to be leadership by example. Similar to the FA and the England team. It's one of them ones. Leadership by example. How about helping grassroots football? Leadership by example. How about getting corruption out of football? And it has to start at the top. Spin the thread for the show. Top down. It has to start from the top. And that leadership from example can only start from the top. And it has to. And it has to at some point. But hey, it's one of them ones where it's just absolutely it's screwed. It's literally screwed. But anyway. But you know what? I have the weird feeling we're going to be coming back into that at some point. But you know what? Speaking of some point, it is one of them ones. We are going to round out the show with the final segment of the show, which is
Grassroots.
Grassroots segments. Oh yeah. Oh yes. It is that time of the evening where we discuss grassroots football even more, even though it's kind of been a grassroots themed show in part, at least. Yeah. Lord knows I can't rap, so let me stop trying. But the fact of the matter is, the grassroots segment to round out this week's show. We always start by giving a big time shout out to the Southern Amateur League. At 14, the word 14, SAL on Twitter is the Southern Amateur League's Twitter handle. And also the SAL, Southern Amateur League, are on Facebook as well. Their website is www.southernamateurleague.co.uk. There is actually a SAL, Southern Amateur League, app on the Google Play Store as well, so have a look for that. Big shout outs to the AFA Youth Council, facebook.com/AFA Youth Council and at AFA Youth Council on Twitter. Remember, Darrell David, the chairman of the AFA Youth Council, is our most recent Pitch Talk Meets guest as well. So have a check, youtube.com/Pitch Talk for Pitch Talk Meets Darrell David, where he talks about the AFA Youth Council. Also big shout outs to the AFA at Amateur FA on Twitter, and www.amateur-fa.com is their website. Quite a few cup draws have been made, including the AFA Cup draws, the LFFA Cup draws as well recently. But one of the main clubs we feature is the Ibis Eagles AFC. IbisEaglesAFC.co.uk is the website. Facebook.com/Ibis Eagles AFC is the group, and at Ibis Eagles AFC on Twitter as well. Get in touch with us if you know anyone or you want to play 11-a-side football. We've got 6 teams in the Southern Amateur Leagues. Our match days are on Saturdays, anywhere within the M25. Training is on at Battersea Park AstroTurf on Wednesdays. It's the bottom left-hand corner of the park near the Adventure Playground. It's a 7:30 p.m. meet. It's 30 minutes of fitness work, then a full hour on the pitches. No boots or molds allowed. So it's Astros or trainers. But yeah, it's one of them was courtesy of our social media guru, Mr. Dan Diamond, an Ibis Eagles results roundup, week 1 from the Facebook group. Week 1, 9th of September 2016. A stuttering start to the new season for the club, with 3 of the 6 teams in action. An even game for the reserves, who went down by 2 goals. The fourth 11 were made to pay for wastefulness in front of goal, despite dominating for most of the game. But thankfully, a good victory for the 5th 11 after promotion last year, and a continuation of the rivalry up front between Dave and Nabil. That is Dave Handley and Nabil Khan. A positive start in a new division
for the team. So the Ibis Eagles 2s, aka the reserves, went down 2-0 against Alexandra Park's reserves. Our 4s went down 2-1 at Wearside Rangers 3s. Dan Diamond was the scorer in that one. And the 5th 11, the 5s, scored won 3-1 against Old Wilsonians 5s. The scorers were Nabil Khan, he got 1, and Dave Handley got 2 of them as well. So it is one of them ones. All 6 teams are in action this coming week, the 17th of September 2016. So it should be very, very interesting indeed. So yeah, it is one of them ones. Also it is one of them ones where, yeah, man, it's always fun on the grassroots segment. Yeah, always fun on the grassroots segment, it must be said. But it is one of them where there are a couple of other clubs that we do have to give a couple of shout outs to as well. Beginning with Porter Soccerbility. Porter Soccerbility, they are actually on Twitter. I think it's at Porters_soccer, SOCCA on Twitter. Facebook.com/Porters Soccerbility, SOCCA ability. Their manager is Nigel Stewart. Contact number is 07891 839 They train on Saturdays from 10 till 12, and tournaments are usually once a month. Also, and a big shout out to Tom Wood, who actually plays for Porter Soccerbility and runs their Twitter page, which actually, correction on that Twitter page, it's at Porters_SOC 2014. At Porters_SOC 2014 is the Porters Soccerbility Twitter handle. Also, big shout outs to Hackney Wick FC, hackneywickfc.com, and at Hackney Wick FC on Twitter. They recently had the Hackney Cup for Health, which went well from what we hear as well. Big shout outs to at Beautiful Game 15 on Twitter, and 2 Men in Search of the Beautiful Game on Facebook. That's Daniel Magna and Tom Sparks as well. Big shout outs to them. This was forwarded to us by Brad Hicks, actually. Leicester City FC ladies, they play at Riverside Pavilion, Braunstone Lane East, Leicester, LE3 2FW. Manager is Jonathan Morgan and chairman is Rowan Morgan, both no relation to Wes Morgan. And it's lcwfc.com is their website, and at lcwfc _official is their Twitter handle. They're also on Facebook as well at facebook.com/ if you search actually LCWFC official, you'll find Leicester City's ladies official side as well. Also forwarded to us via Russ Vernon, Leeds Ladies FC. Contact details. Their chairman is Gary Cooper. And their website is leedsladiesfc.co.uk. They're Leeds Ladies FC on Instagram as well, and at Leeds Ladies FC on Twitter, and facebook.com / Leeds United Ladies. Also, big shout out. Big shout outs to the guys involved. With PT Live, who are involved with those grassroots sides as well. Of course, Straight Shooting LJA does play for the Ibis Eagles as well. So it's one of them. It is tremendo. So let me guess who is on the phone line. Is that Tom Wood on that phone line?
Yeah, it is.
Good stuff. How's everything going at Porter Soccerbility?
Everything's fine. We've been back in training for 2 weeks now, so it's not too bad.
Good stuff.
I've got all the tournament dates for when we've got tournaments coming up as well. So I did message you all the dates across when we've got tournaments and all that as well.
Cool. We'll definitely have a look. And if there's anything you guys want to tweet us about some of the sides that you want us to retweet, if you tweet it out, let us know. We will retweet it for you. So it is all good.
And also, Liam, I had a good weekend, obviously, going to watch the Man City ladies play as well.
Oh, yeah, because you met a few players as well, wasn't it? So, good stuff.
Yeah, I got to meet Tony Youngin, and I put the picture on Instagram, and she liked it on Instagram.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, you know what? Speaking of actually good things as well, Brad Hicks, you've got some results from Leicester City Women's FC to mention as well.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, I've not been here for a couple of weeks. Last week was due to a broadband issue, but the results. The league has been great. A 5-3 win over Stoke a couple of weeks ago, 28th of August, and a win over Middlesbrough yesterday, 3-0. They lost their League Cup. They lost their League Cup determining round match to Newcastle 2-1. So yeah, it's been a reasonable a couple of weeks for the ladies.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, it's one of them was Russ Vernon. There's also some news from Leeds ladies as well, quickly as well, before we round up.
Yes, Liam. This weekend there'll be Mossley Hill 7-1, Kaz Omabe with 3, Jodie Hunter and a Parnham, Simona Petkova got a brace in that one as well. And congratulations to the Leeds ladies under 16s. Will be Garford Rangers 12-0 in their first league game this weekend. Great results all round for the first team and the under 16s for Leeds ladies as well. So good bits of news coming out of the Leeds ladies at the moment. If you want any more details regarding Leeds ladies, anybody here on Pitch Talk listening or in the chat, just drop me a message on Facebook or drop a message via the PT and they'll pass it over to me and I'll pass it back over to them to give you very, very soon, guys.
Nah, good stuff. Good stuff. Good to hear that everyone's kind of on the up and up. Everyone's on the up and up. But you know what? It is one of them ones where it is, speaking of up and up, it is time for us to actually vacate the place with a haste as it happens. But we'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who's contributed to the show tonight. But it is time. It's time for us to say goodbye, unfortunately. But you know, we had to round out with the grassroots segment. It's been a very much grassroots themed show, but you know what? It is one of them ones where we do gotta say.
And I'm here with Gavin, Liam and Gerald on Pitch Talk.
The football talk show that pulls no punches and holds back nothing on opinions.
Hello, I'm Rob Rest. My name is Christian Carambeu.
Director of a 4-year plan, and you're listening to Pitch Talk, the only place to get your Monday night footballing fix.
Make sure you join the revolution.
The pitch is where we eat.
The pitch is where we sleep.
And the pitch is where we talk.
I'm Andy Copeland from the Glennet Southern Amateur.
Philip Wick, I'm CEO of 14.
Rob Lusher, former chairman of IBIS FC.
Anthony Swanee, co-founder and co-director of Motivate Sports and Fitness.
And you're listening to
Pitch Talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, straight shooting LJ, the G-Man and Jazzy Fizzle proudly bring to you the football talk show that pulls no punches and, of course, holds back nothing on opinions. BD,
the pitch is where we sleep.
And, of course, the pitch is where we talk. We've had another rip-roaring week here at PT. Got a lot discussed, went through a lot. Always enjoyed it. Big ups to the Skypers, man. Big ups to the Skypers joining us from week to week. That's Ryan Sonley, Mike Hardiman, Brad Hicks, Russ Vernon, and Scott Tweed, and also Jamie Bailey as well as Tom Wood on the mobile as well. Remember, facebook.com/pitch talk. Become a fan, become a friend, become a member of the group. Join the footballing revolution we're working so hard to create. youtube.com/pitch talk is where you can find all of our videos, including the Pitch Talk meets, Pitch Talk at the Cup finals, and Pitch Talk on the road series.
Also, 07535804466 is the mobile number whilst we're on air. Call us, text us, let us know your views. If you text, please leave your name at the end of the text so we can shout you out. Also, on YouTube is where we leave our live show archives as well. We also podcast on iTunes, Mixcloud, Podomatic, Spreaker, and TuneIn Radio as well. So keep an eye out for our podcast links that go out during the week. And please feel free to share. Give us a review, give us a rating. It's all appreciated and helps those algorithms get stronger and get more noticed, so we can make your Monday Night Footballing Fix bigger and better, because that's what we're striving to do. Oh yeah. But also at Pitch Talk on Twitter, or twitter.com/Pitch Talk. Tweet with us, follow us, see what we are up to. Also, it is one of them ones where, it's one of them ones. You can find us in a lot of places. Pitch Talk 1, we are on Skype. You can join the Skypers on Pitch Talk 1 on Skype. Add us, and you can be part of the live show. Big shout outs to Girls on the Ball, girlsontheball.com, facebook.com/Girls on the Ball, and at Girls on the Ball on Twitter. Ladies football, women's football aficionados, FAWPL, WSL, Lionesses, and much more. Blogs, match reports, photos, everything. girlsontheball.com. Also, thinwhitelinemagazine.com as well. A great publication we feature in issue 1, but also the proceeds of the digital edition of issue 1 and 2 are going to a great cause as well. So make sure you snap that up. Big shout outs to Ian Kerr. Facebook.com/thinwhiteline magazine, at tweetwhiteline on Twitter, and thinwhitelinemagazine.com as well. It is one of those. Big shout outs to Leicester City ladies. Also, big shout out to Leeds United ladies. Also, a massive shout out to the Ibis Eagles AFC, at Ibis Eagles AFC on Twitter, ibiseaglesafc.co.uk, and facebook.com/Ibis Eagles AFC. You know what? Oh my word, it's been one of those weeks. From myself, straight shooting LJA.
From myself, Jesse Fizzle.
And on behalf of the G-Man as well. It is one of them ones where we say thank you very much, and we will see you with more talking points to discuss and loads of football to discuss. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.